Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Bradston Henry. I am a developer advocate at IBM, and I'm super pumped about having you guys here today because this is going to be a good one. We're getting into the nitty gritty of how to do containerizations. We're going to take a Node.js application and we're going to use Docker and we're going to containerize it. I actually made an application called the Dad Jokes API. That is the actual name of the application, and we're going to use Docker to containerize it. So it's going to be really, really cool, and I think you'll get a lot from it. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to download the application I made called Dad Jokes API. Essentially what Dad Jokes API does is it takes a dad joke from the ICANN Dad Joke API, and then it serves it to our application, in our container. So it's pretty simple application, but we're going to need to use it for doing a simple deployment to a container. All right, so once you've come to the page, I've provided the link down in the description. Go ahead and you're going to click here on this code button here. You have kind of two options. You can either clone it using SSH or HTTPS, or you can decide to go down here and click the download zip and just download it as a zip and just open up the file. So for us, well, for me, I'm going to go ahead and use the SSH option. So I'm going to click the clipboard button here to copy it. I'm going to go ahead and flip over my screen to my desktop. I already have a folder that I'm using called dev here. So I'm going to open up a terminal window. And what I'm going to do is first I'm going to clear my window. Let's type in clear here. Oop, looks like typo. I'm going to type here clear, then clear my window, and then I'm going to do change directories into this folder. So I'm going to say CD, and I'm going to drag the folder here, press enter. Now I'm in the folder. Once we're here, I'm going to go ahead and type in git clone and then paste that link, because that's going to go ahead and copy all the files from the Git repository. Okay, opening up the folder here, and you can see I have the folder ready to go. All right, so let's go ahead and clear our folder. Oh no, wait, before we do that, let's go ahead and CD into this directory, this Dad Jokes API, since we're going to be using this to go ahead and do our application. So I'm just typing CD and then dragging that folder. Okay, so let's go ahead and clear our window and open up our folder here. So now we're in the Dad Jokes API folder. So before we do anything, what we're going to do is we're going to create our Docker file. So our Docker file is actually what's going to create our container, I guess you could say, our container image. Basically, it's going to take everything that we need and make it into an application for us. So it's just a list of commands that sets up our environment, sets up our dependencies, and make sure all of our application code is ready to go. So let's go ahead and type in here touch Docker file. What this does is it creates our Docker file in our folder. Let's go ahead and open that. So when we open it, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type the from node Alpine 3.1.0 command. Basically what this does is it's going to go ahead and go to the Docker hub or wherever the image registry and grab our node environment. That's going to be a dependency for us to run our node application. So we're going to need to make sure that we actually have that in our container so it can run. All right, so the next thing we're going to do here is going to do the run make directory /app command. Essentially what this does is it creates our directory that's going to basically where all of our application code and application dependencies, everything's going to be housed. It's essentially going to become our working directory, which is a command we're going to do next. But essentially we use this to house our code, house anything that we need to run our application. Okay, so the next line of code we're going to do here is work dir, all caps, and then we're going to say /app. Essentially what this does is what I described before. It sets this as our working directory, as this will be where we're going to run all of our application code from. Okay, hope that makes sense. All right, let's move on. We're going to use the copy command, and we're going to say copy package.json, and then we're going to go space /app. This is basically going to copy over the package.json file, which is used for basically installing any dependencies we need for our node application. You'll see in our next code line that we're going to actually install those. So the next thing we're going to do is going to say run npm install. And if you're familiar at all with Node or anything like that, you know that this npm install command just installs all of the packages loaded in our package.json. So similarly, the run command will do that. It'll run npm install. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna say copy, all caps. We're gonna say period space /app. This command actually is really important. We need to copy all of our application code into our working directory, which is /app. So this copy period /app command literally copies all remaining code into there. All right, next we're gonna do here is expose space 8080. Basically what this is doing is exposing our API outside of our container. Not outside of our Docker environment, which we'll do a little bit later, but outside of our container. One big thing to note is that containers can communicate with each other, right? Oh, I have multiple APIs, they might need to ingest each other, use, do different things, but we need to actually expose the port or expose the ability to connect to that API. So this expose 8080 command does that. You could have put 80,000, 8010, any port, but we're gonna use 88 this time. All right, next we're gonna write CMD, all caps, and then we're gonna do open brackets, open parentheses node, close parentheses node, comma, sorry, open parentheses server.js, close parentheses, and then a bracket. Essentially what this does is telling the node container, our container that runs our application, our Docker container, that this is the command we need to run our application, to actually get it started and get it working. So this essentially, when we run a command a little bit later called docker run, it'll actually run this command as well, along with other things. All right, let's go ahead and save and close this file. Okay, so our next step is to actually just do something simple. We're gonna make a docker ignore file. Essentially what this does is it ignores certain files so that we don't accidentally overwrite files that we've created or modified. We don't want to accidentally, when we're making this build, accidentally overwrite files. So docker ignore kind of, it does that for us. So we're going to type in here touch space .docker ignore. And sorry, I'm typing slow, but once we do that, the docker ignore file will open. It's a hidden file, so you need to make sure it's showing. If you look down in the description, I will go ahead and put what files or what we need to put in the docker ignore file. Essentially, these are just files that we want to ignore. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and clear here. So the next thing we're gonna do is gonna run the docker build command. So I'm gonna kind of tell you what I'm gonna do before I write it. So we're gonna do docker build, docker space build space -t, and then the name of the application, colon, the tag, and then also a dot at the end, which is really important. So I'm gonna type in here, docker build, and then space, -t, and then the name of the application that we wanna use, or the image name, and then a tag for it, and then space period, so that we're actually using the directory in. I'm gonna go ahead and run that, and you'll see that it's actually building based off of the Docker file that we created earlier. So if you look through there, you'll see that we did, let's see here. We made our directory starting from 1.7, we got our node Docker, and then we, set our run. We made our directory, for our app, and then we copied our package.json twice. Sorry, that was my error. Then we're gonna run npm install, and so on and so forth. So it actually sets up our environment, okay? Let's go ahead and clear this. So the next thing we're gonna do here is actually run our app. Now this is gonna be the key step to allow us to use our application. So what we're gonna type in here is docker run and a few different parameters that I'm gonna try to explain as I go. So okay, first we're gonna do is docker space run, and then we're gonna go ahead and say -p, okay? And then we're gonna say 8000:8080, okay? And those numbers probably seem familiar. Then I'm gonna see -d, and then I'm gonna use the name and the tag that we used for our previously. So dadjoke-api:version 1. So simply just breaking down what happened here, I'm running the docker run command, docker run, and then -p. -p is actually setting the port that's gonna be exposed outside of our Docker environment. So earlier we did the expose command in the Docker file, which was expose 8080. So you see here 8000:8080. 8080 is the port we exposed within our containerized environment. Other containers can see it, but we're gonna expose it outside of the containerized environment at port 8000. So when we actually run it on our local host in a second, you'll be able to access it. After that, we're doing -d, which is essentially we're gonna run our Docker image, which is the one that we just built. So, you know, all of this right here will basically just set the port that we want to expose outside of our container and then, you know, build it. So I press build here. You'll see that it created a seemingly nonsensical number. That's actually just the ID for the particular Docker image. So I'm going to type in here Docker space PS, and you'll see here a few items show up. So let me open this window a little bit larger here. So our container ID, so that was what printed out earlier. Our image name and its associated tag. This is just kind of a command for the entry point. It was created 12 seconds ago. It's been up for about 11 seconds. And the ports that it's at is 8,000 on our local host. And it's exposing the 8080 port, which I talked about a little bit earlier. All right, so let's go ahead and check out our application. So let's go ahead and flip over to a browser. I'm gonna open up a new tab here, and I'm gonna type in here localhost 8000/get dad joke. And essentially this is where our application is going to be. That's the endpoint within our Node application that actually serves us a dad joke, and we're going to be able to actually use our application. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this command. So I'm going to go press enter, boom, and just like that you can see that our Docker image is showing here, and you'll see that I have a dad joke there. I just reloaded again to show a new one. And the biggest night of King Arthur's round table, so far, so looking at that. So as you can see, that's just how it works. A few commands and setting up your Docker file, and you're good to go. So hopefully you can see how easy it is to take an existing application and containerize it using Docker. I hope these steps were helpful for you guys. It was fun making the video. I'm super excited about my upcoming blog post, because my next ones will be talking about container to container interactions and how that works. And then eventually we're going to take all those containers, we're going to put them up into the cloud. I think that's going to be really, really fun. So thanks again for checking out my videos, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in the future. Take it easy. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. So much more content to come. Please check out the descriptions, because I'm going to put in some links for some really cool free classes offered by IBM. It's talking about containers, Kubernetes, and Red Hat OpenShift. I think you guys will really like it. So y'all take it easy, and I'll see you next time.